Hello, my name is Zachary DeSando, and I will be paying tribute to Diogenes of Sinope today. We all have people that we look up to that are usually alive today or were around within the last century. The person I would like to pay tribute to, though, is Diogenes of Sinope that was born back in 404 BC. He was one of the great Greek philosophers that ended up earning the nickname from Plato, Socrates gone mad, because of how frequently Diogenes would insult Plato for some of the ideas he would put out into society. He became a slave after being captured by pirates at one point in his life, but then got himself out of it by demanding that he was sold to Xeniades to fill the role of master. And so he was sold to Xeniades to fill the tutor role for his son, and he taught his son to live with nature instead of through coins. Today, I will give you insight on the man that was Diogenes of Sinope by highlighting the points in his life, like him staying true to his beliefs when defacing currency, continuing to build upon them while studying under Diogenes, and passing on his knowledge and experience to his student Socrates to further develop it over his lifetime. Diogenes was banished from Sinope for the defacement of currency and traveled to Athens. Some of his beliefs were self-control and pursuit of excellence to the point that he gave up on unnecessary things like a respectable social status and basic items we use today. His father was a coin minter, meaning he was actively going against the government and his own father in a way in the name of what he believed. This resulted in him being exiled from Sinope and going to Athens, where he continued to explore and demonstrate his beliefs to the people of the city. At this time, he was living in a ceramic jar, using a cup before he disposed of it in the name of his beliefs, and living off the charity of the people that gave him food. The story behind him giving up his cup was when he saw a young boy drinking water using only his hands, which is when Diogenes had an epiphany about how he still wasn't living without all necessary things, so he threw the cup away and only used his hands. This gives a strong foundation of who Diogenes was as a man and shows his iron will. Diogenes studied under Diogenes, while also never betraying his beliefs even in the face of somebody like Alexander the Great. Even after being rejected by Diogenes, Diogenes continued to ask to study under him until Diogenes relented and took him as a student. This didn't stop Diogenes from living a life that was in line with nature. He continued to live in a jar and only live off of what he was given and what he could obtain that were natural, like water from a well. Diogenes didn't become the student of Diogenes just because he was a student of Socrates, but because Diogenes held the ideals that aligned and gave more foundation to his own ideals. When Diogenes met Alexander the Great, he didn't change who he was just because Alexander was a Macedonian ruler. Alexander the Great was actually a fan of Diogenes and wise men in general, but during their encounter, Alexander was praising Diogenes and looking to have a conversation with him. However, Diogenes brushed him off as if he was just a normal man that shared this existence with him. This conversation between these two was brief, according to Plutarch, another Greek philosopher that witnessed it, because Diogenes truly didn't believe in social status and didn't see any point in bending over backwards just to show respect for Alexander the Great. Even though Alexander gave a compliment to Diogenes, he only got a response of, "Move a little to the right. You are blocking my sun." This alone, you would think Alexander, being a ruler who has conquered many lands, taking down men who were deemed bigger than him, and overall an idol to the people, was not upset by this response at all. Instead, Alexander's response to this was, "If I were not Alexander, then I should wish to be Diogenes." And Diogenes replied with, "If I were not Diogenes, I would also wish to be Diogenes." This would make Diogenes seem like he was a narcissist, but I think there is more to this when you have the context of him going around Athens with a lantern in daylight and holding up to people's faces, telling them he was in the search of an honest person or a true human being, as he would put it. The reason behind this was because Diogenes believed the people were walking around Athens as empty husks and no life to them. This was meant to encourage the people of Athens to truly pursue a life that wasn't constrained by the idea of one person being better than another because of their family and the money they had behind them. We should all try to go with the mentality of wanting to be ourselves instead of someone else. Lastly, Diogenes took on his own student, Crates of Thebes, to pass on knowledge and experience that he acquired in his life, as it falls under the belief of pursuing self-excellence. Now his student Crates took the teachings of Diogenes and was able to continue to develop that by passing that knowledge and experience on to his own student, Zeno of Citium, which resulted in the philosophy of Stoicism. Stoicism is something that we find is similar to Buddhism because they both have a lack of concern for social status, unnecessary things in life, and as a result, these teachings alone from Diogenes were continued to be refined and added upon by future generations and are still giving us valuable lessons today. Like, we shouldn't hold such high regard for social status just because someone is wealthy or born into a famous family. We are all human beings at the end of the day, and that doesn't change just because we have a certain name or more paper than someone else. Overall, Diogenes of Sinope was called a faithful hound, a Socrates gone mad, and a fool by people, but he was a true human being for staying with his beliefs and doing things that got him the disdain of others, continue to be himself, and keep his dedication to his beliefs even while in the presence of people that were great, and being able to pass on his own knowledge and experience to his student instead of letting it all go after him. Thank you and have a good day.